Yeah, my name is Charlie, and we launched Equipio.com best part about 6 months ago. And Rose very kindly asked me to come along this afternoon and just give you a bit of chat as to what we went through, what we found, what we did, what worked, what didn't work, and just give you a few opinions. I promise you there will be totally much more my opinions. They're not scientific. It's one person's experience of trying to raise some money in the last few months, and take it or leave it as you will. Before I get stuck into it, can I just see a bit of a show of hands? Who's actually looking to raise money at the moment? Okay, anybody sort of VCs, angel investor type people? Okay, any sort of advisors, consultants? Sorry, I will be rude to you at some point, my apologies. Yeah, so Equipio, just to give you a quick idea, Equipio was born, well, Equipio came about when I was working at Nike about 3 years ago, and I was sat there going, yeah, there's got to be some opportunities out there, what could it look like? And I was very aware that we had a market where the shopping environment was horrible. Anybody here been to Sports Direct, had the misfortune recently? Hope you had your jabs before you went in. You know, it's not a great environment. So, but you had these guys, lots and lots of product sales going through, and especially you had customer service who, let's face it, minimum wage, didn't give a monkeys, didn't know what they were talking about. And yet at the same time, there were a whole bunch of people who were out there who were really, really passionate about the products that they used, and arguably knew a hell of a lot more than that person in Sports Direct. So our idea was actually, well, why don't you take this bad shopping experience, really, really passionate community, stick it together, and therefore you should be able to help people make better decisions as a result of it. So that was Equipio. And we went through God knows how many iterations of discussions and bouncing ideas around, and we changed it and morphed it, but we kept coming back to that same principle. So this one here, this is our homepage. Actually, it was a couple of weeks ago when we were doing a competition with Under Armour, which is great because basically they managed to take over our latest activity on the site, and Under Armour got all quite excited about it, which was rather cool. But yeah, this is our homepage, and so that's actually our second version of our homepage. So we got quite excited when we felt that we'd grown enough to all of a sudden be able to justify redoing the homepage. Whoa, that wasn't meant to happen. Let me just probably that one. No, that didn't really like it happening either. Interesting. Well, we'll jump onto that one. Okay, so as I said, this was the core premise. So how do we get the community to help us decide? And as a result of which, sometimes we've been called TripAdvisor for sport, Last.fm for sport, what's the other one we've been called? Goodreads.com for sport was another one recently. I quite like that. If that all works, I'm going to be quite a happy chappy. But it was really bringing that together, that sort of community aspect. So before I was at Nike, I worked at Barcap for a year, straight out of university. The Russians decided that paying interest on their debt wasn't a cool idea, so they cut desks like crazy. I ended up at Reuters for 7 years, worked all over the place, and it was great, absolutely fantastic. Part of which I spent a year working actually out in Silicon Valley with a lot of Reuters big clients at the time, so that was quite an experience. Did my MBA and then ended up at Nike. And you're at this amazing company. I mean, I used to play like tennis and football as a kid. I worshipped Nike. This was like the best company to go and work for. But I was sat in meetings going, I'm not sure. I want to go and do something different. I want something a little bit more dynamic than what's here. I was running business strategy for the UK, and yet what I was spending most of my time doing was writing PowerPoint presentations to get through the UK management team, through the European management team, up to global, and it would take us 6 months to go and do anything. I was like, stuff it. I want to go and do something myself. So you could think, well, of course, you've got this great idea that you totally believe in, well, just go and do it, right? Yeah, sure, that was the company motto, just do it. Well, actually, I was in that sort of position. You know, I came from kind of a nice background. I'd got a little bit of cash. We'd just bought our first house, or just in the process of buying our first house. I wasn't minted. You know, family didn't have money to fund me through this. I didn't, you know, have everything to risk. I had a nice salary, and we went on holiday twice a year. So actually, just do it. Well, actually, it's kind of nice. Let's stay a little bit longer. So I wrote a business plan, and another business plan, and another business plan, a few more PowerPoint presentations, and by the end of it, I totally decided this was the greatest thing to go and do. But I still didn't do it because actually getting the kick off your arse just wasn't happening. Until I met a few people who were just said, well, why don't you get on with it? Good point. Redundancy round started to come up, so I decided to step it. I'll put my hand up for it, and I'll get out, get a little bit of cash off a redundancy round, and I did just go and do it. So I then started trying to put together a team, which was an interesting experience. Just finding all the right people to put into it. I started meeting people at sort of meetup, coffee.com meetups and things like that. Hey, do you fancy coming and doing some development work for me? Do you fancy coming, putting some ideas in as a marketing person? And it took a little bit of a while to try and meet the right people, but we got a couple of really great guys on board, and we started building the site. Pretty quickly, we realised that all my promises of, it's going to be brilliant, we'll all do fantastically out of it, wasn't really going to work. They needed something to actually, help feed their kids, help pay their mortgage and stuff like that. So I had to find some money from somewhere to go and do it. So I thought, well, I'll go and do some consultancy work. So here's my little Dilbert take on consultancy. So I was doing some consultancy work, getting a nice day rate, thank you very much, which was based actually just over in Farringdon, and we lived West London. So I'd get up really early, get on the Central Line, in a Starbucks just round the corner at Chancery Lane. So do 2 hours in the morning working on Equipio, go and do the consultancy work during the day, then in the evening go back home and work till midnight working on Equipio again. So I'd be on the 94 bus coming out of Shepherd's Bush going back to West London, slumped in the back on about a Thursday or Friday night, just too knackered to actually do anything useful. So it was a great way of actually starting up and getting enough money to be able to pay developers and do stuff, but it's not something I'd recommend from a getting sleep point of view in any way. Okay, so we had takeoff, but how far could we go on our own? I was trying to find a picture last night that would somehow sum it up, and all these great big ones of jumbos taking off and F-14 fighters taking off and stuff like that. I thought, we're actually a pretty small little plane, and we're probably sort of inching our way towards the runway, so this probably seems a slightly better idea. And we kept coming back to this idea, well, can we do more with what we've got? Can we get a little bit further? Can we prove that we can get one more brand to get involved, get one more set of users to come, and a bigger jump? How much further could we keep taking it each time before we started to actually need some investments? And it was about probably just over 6 or 7 months ago when I went to the G2I setup I think it was over in Liverpool Street, right? I think. And that was really the point where I was thinking, okay, well, we've got to start to get some money involved because we can't keep going on as we were. And we met a lot of different people and had some quite interesting conversations then going forwards. So at the time, I'd say looking back, I think these were probably our main options to go and find money. Bootstrapping was always this term that people kept using, and everybody loves bootstrapping. So like, Christ, I'm going to strangle myself with my bootstraps at this rate. So many people saying it works, it's great, it's fantastic, but then there were so many other people who were just scrounging around and never actually being able to push it forward any further. And we tried to bootstrap for as far as we could, and I think we actually did a really good example of that through me doing the consultancy work and then being able to get things built and get things a little bit further and further forwards. But I think we got to the point where we needed to actually try and bring some money in. Family. My family's not minted, unfortunately. It'd be a lot nicer if we were. So there wasn't a huge amount of cash to go and start asking parents, uncles, all that sort of stuff for. People put in a couple of grand, that's what they could, and if it all goes tits up, I would have to feel horribly guilty. But we were very, very honest with everybody, saying, look, this is a really, really risky thing to do, and largely you're supporting me, my dream, as much as anything else in this. So that was always quite an interesting conversation over the dinner table to try and pitch that one. Network, actually I'll come back to network because it's actually what worked, so I'll leave it till last. Business angels, that was a really interesting sort of experience going and talking to various business angels. because they came in so many different shapes and sizes and so many different places, some through as individuals, who literally was, my mate's just sold a company and he's got like a few $100 and he's looking to invest. Why don't you go and talk to him? Okay, we'll go and talk to him. Through to bigger sort of setups. So we went and pitched at the Thames Valley Investment Network, and we went and pitched at the London Business Angels Network, which were very interesting experiences. And in fact, the London Business Angels was the last time that I was stood probably in a room quite like this, talking to so many people. It's quite spooky actually, because there were 3 different screens behind me, and all I could see were the eyes going in different directions, and I never knew who was looking at what screen, which was a bit weird. And then we did one above a pub in Winchester to 15 guys, and like God knows what their net worth was between them, but we all crammed into this little pub as I was presenting from my laptop, which again was quite weird.